Because this is being handled in a hybrid mode, where we have folks online as well as here present at our Colonel Ward facility, we want to make sure to kind of spot some things and make sure we're all on a good page. I know I have two people here, two groups that wanted to be heard during the public comment period, so we don't want to have them go through all of our agenda. And that's going to be for 868 Main Street and 408 Norwood. Norfolk. Okay, sorry. And 408 Norfolk. And so we'll get those scheduled in there under item 3. Is there anyone else on the call that would like to be heard? All right. Hearing none, before I turn it over to Ryan for some of our items, I would like to let everyone know that this is a public meeting and hence it will be recorded for posterity as well as for accurate meeting notes. And so with that, Ryan.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today. Once again, this meeting will be recorded. I'd like to introduce a couple of housekeeping measures. To reduce the amount of background noise, please stay muted until you are ready to speak. At the time you're ready to speak, please state your name and affiliation for the record. I'll now go to taking roll, starting with the board members. After I say your name, please state here or present. Start with Chairman McFoy.
Present.
William Sunderland.
Present.
Gerald Kelly.
Present.
Deneen Jackson.
Present.
Ray Nosworthy.
Present.
Thank you, board. I'll move to other regular attendees. Charlie Martirana.
Present.
Thank you. Damon Rand.
Present.
Damon Sykes.
Present.
Doug Fultz.
Present.
David Hill.
Present.
Kelly Lieb.
Present.
Peter Merlo.
Present.
Fuad Arab. Bill Ferguson.
Present.
Lisa Foti.
Present.
Jack McMahon.
Present.
Stephen Waldvogel.
Present.
Dustin Steiner.
Present.
Michael Wolaz.
Present.
Beth Sheeler.
Present.
Nathan Martin.
Present.
Matthew Adam.
Present.
Thank you. If there's any others that I missed, please unmute your line if you are joining the call through Teams. Otherwise, those in the boardroom, if you could state your name and affiliation for the record. Thank you very much.
Yes. We have them all signed in, Ryan. Thank you.
You're all set? Okay. All right. Thank you, Chairman. Hearing no others, so I'll pass it back to you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Board, we will get rolling with item number 1, approval of the agenda as set forth. On board, as you see, we have a pretty lengthy agenda. Under public comment, we do have a couple of families here that we want to hear from. So if you could please review the agenda, see if there are any additions or subtractions.
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask some time at the end for executive session, legal issues, litigation.
Okay. All right. So we have one amendment at the end to discuss, go on an executive session to discuss legal matters. All right. Anything else? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as so amended?
Sunderland so moved.
Deneen second.
The motion is properly seconded. All in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Deneen, aye.
Kelly, aye. Nosworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Approved. Thank you. Item number 2, approval of the minutes from our last meeting of April 17th, 2024. Board, if you would, please review the minutes. These were previously sent out to your attention. Make sure that they are complete and accurate. Thank you.
Sunderland motion to approve.
The motion, we approve.
Denine second.
The motion and properly seconded that we approve the minutes from the meeting of April 17th. Have any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Denine, aye.
Kelly, aye. Osworthy, aye.
Unanimous, thank you very much. We'll now go on to item number 3, which is public comment period. And sir, I believe we're going to hear from you first on 868 Main Street.
Sure.
You have the floor.
Thank you so much. My name is Saeed Rohani. My wife's name is Fugad Muqaddam. I'm 76 years old, retired. She is 70 years old. I have a daughter which lives in Boston. She's a dentist, and my son just got into medical school in Jacob Medical School. And the reason we purchased this house in 868 Main Street because it was close to school. That was one of the reasons. And it was a two-family house. That's what the realtor told us. It's a two-family house. But was 2NC was, you could use it. It was a mix. You could use it as a commercial or you could use it as a residential. But we didn't have no intention of using it as a commercial. They said we bought two-family house, and we said we're gonna move with our son to help him out to medical college, and we came to live in Buffalo, and the water we know was slow, and we told them, said if you change your lines inside, it will be fixed. We were licensed plumbers, and they fixed the whole thing. We paid them, and then the water was not going right out. Then we called them up. I said, "What did you do?" He said, "We didn't do nothing." He found out. He says it was a leak on the street, and we can't do nothing about it. We have to call the city to city take care of it. And we called up the Water Buffalo, and we spoke to Lil John. He was very gentle, very nice person, and I spoke to him. He says no problem. And then Mr. Mike Willis called us. He said, because this is a commercial house, we are not able to fix it. I said, we did not buy a commercial house. They said as a 2NC, you could use it as a residential and commercial. And the previous owner, they used it as a hair salon, but it was illegally. He had no accessible bathroom. He didn't have no entrance to the door or anything like that. And I have a proof from the building department, from Justin Candle, and also other gentlemen which they came, they checked, and also people from the fire department. He said, I don't know how you run this place like that. He had a 3 meter, which he said, how, I don't know why he has a 3 meter over here. It's a two-family house. And also one 3 gas meter and 1 electric meter. I don't know why he did that, for what purpose, tax purpose or whatever purpose he had. And we didn't know about all these things. We just wanted to buy a house, two-family house. We lived with him over here till he finished college, and then we could stay here. And unfortunately, Mr. Willis said, no, we cannot do it. And first he said he had a storefront. I said, you come and look at it. We don't use it as a family house. Whether it's for a commercial or any purpose. And then he said he has a 3 gas meter. I said, yes, it's 3 gas meter. I don't know why he has it, but we have only 1 electric meter. And then he says, you probably use it for rehab. I said, no, we're not going to use it for the rehab or anything. And then finally he says, no, I cannot do it. They go to the water board and see what they can do.
So you're coming to us to kind of appeal what our folks have talked about.
That's
And so I want to make sure I get this right. You had a service line break.
yes.
Okay. And when was the service line?
That was in November.
Okay, so back in November. All right. And so what I think I hear you saying is you wanted to see if you were eligible for our roll program. which
Yes,
is our
that's
full lead line.
exactly what it is.
And so you identified that the line was lead.
Yes,
All right, and that it's old, but the replace old lead lines program is the residential. So that's where you're running into.
that's right. And because this was 2NC, it was a commercial district.
Right.
That's the reason they didn't do it. Otherwise, they would have done it.
Right,
But
and
if you don't buy it for a commercial reason, and you could see the picture of the house, it doesn't have any storefront. I have the picture of all of them that still the way we bought it, and the way it's bought, all of them here. And then, I forgot to tell, then Mr. Syke, David Sykes, he says, is a code. I said, I don't know nothing about the code. He said, the code is 482. I said, I don't know anything what this is because it's a commercial. He says, if you change it to residential, then you will have no problem. And this is his email, which he sent it to me.
Well, yeah, that's an after effect.
After,
Yeah, I
there's
don't
his
know.
email that he sent to change it. Then we went
That's
to,
our role.
then we spent for $5,000 to make it residential, and we did go to the building department, and they gave us the certificate of occupancy for only 2 families, that I have it. And then instead they didn't change it. We went to the tax department, says we change once a year in December. We're not gonna change it right now. And they give us a letter that we change the things for the 2 families at the end of December.
Okay. And so do you have like this stuff here? I don't want to take your originals. Can we get like a full copy of this stuff?
Yes, you can have all of them. I have.
This is the original.
No, I have it at home. I have another one at home. And this is actually a copy also. These are Mr. Sykes,
Well, this is a printout of our website, so we got this, yeah.
You could have
Yeah, no, these are important ones here. And so, Ms. Ryan, so we'll take a look at that. We're gonna talk to Mike, we'll talk to David Mike. And so I just want to make sure we got it clear though. You have a property, it was formerly zoned as commercial.
This is mixed.
Mixed zone, you said into C.
Yeah.
I don't know the property.
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah.
So it was mixed, and you went through the process here, not with our taxation, but with our permit division to get a COO,
Yes.
for that particular place. And you recognized that you had a leak in November.
Yes, that's
Okay, and here we are. Okay. All right.
Can I add something?
You can ask, and I'm gonna have, open up to my board as well to ask questions.
But the originally was a 2-family home.
Mhm.
The previous owner made it to be commercial hairdresser.
Which was illegally in the rule, I have a
But now we want to turn it to the residential.
The way our role program is set up is, it was set up specifically for residential, because we've had commercials come before and say, hey, listen, we have, through our legal payment program, they've come with us. So that's, I understand what you're saying. And that, you kind of feel that it was primarily used as a one-family, before legally it was used as a hair gallery. And
Yeah, that's
things
right.
there.
And exactly when I got it, this is the picture which you had, it still is there, I didn't use it.
Mhm.
We were supposed to move to our son over here and says instead of paying 2 rent, we're gonna come help him out,
Mhm.
and we're gonna live here. But when we came, there was no water, the water doesn't need second floor, we did not even come, we just have one here instead. But this is the picture which the two, we had a hair salon, and still the places like that, anybody wants to inspect it, we're welcome to come and see. We didn't do any kind of change whatsoever, it's still the way it is, it's still there. The only thing, there's one studio, which is my son lives over here, and that one apartment, which is the one family, which is here, is still the same. Anybody would like to come and look at it, I'd be very happy to come and look.
Board, is there any questions?
Sir, when did you purchase this building?
July 31st, July 30th,
2023.
2023, yes.
Okay, and when did the salon move out?
Around November.
Okay. November 23?
23, yes.
One else have any questions? Okay, well, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to put
We don't need you to say the whole thing. You can, but we got a pretty lengthy.
I know.
But what we'll do is, we will formally get back to you on the letter, and we have your contact information. This is right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of you.
I think I say now, enjoy the weather. I don't know if I said that earlier.
10 minutes, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Right, thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, now we will go on to, vote.
Hi, my name is Dennis Baker. I'm the property owner at 408 Norfolk. I purchased the property in 2015 at auction from the city. I owned a concrete company, so I used it as a contractor's yard. At the time when I purchased the property, I didn't know what any easement or anything else on other than the telephone pole because it was full of woods. It was all trees. I cleared the property. We have a hydrant there now. Okay. Hydrant. Yeah. I even came down to talk to the commissioner at one point. I'm a Buffalo fireman, so
Okay,
and that's the end thing we never used that. So, but I spoke to the commissioner back years ago about removing the hydrant before, in case we ever. But I know removing hydrant is a difficult thing. But now I have a tenant who is a retired fire and construction. I have a tenant that want to put a building on it. Okay, it's a cannabis plant or grow plant, whatever. But the hydrant is what I heard. I don't know, but the hydrant runs through the property. Which I assume that
so
it's
it's
not.
not the hydrant, it's a line you got running.
It's a line that's running. But I don't know, because just like right now, I'm dealing with a sewer that's supposed to be there, but it's not there, because I excavated the area where it's supposed to be, not there.
Out there?
So, who knows? This was in 18 something or 19, who knows what's there, It's a train track. It was in the line, it's off the train track. It's a dead end street.
Drove by Gator.
Gator, correct, and so I don't know what the thought was back then and what the potential plan, but train here, you went going to the other side of Norfolk. So maybe that's where it goes.
It might have predated that rail line.
Right.
But, okay.
So the issue is, the tenant would like to have like to tap into that last hydrant so that he can run water.
Okay, what's happening in the line? We can't let what's happening in the hydrant.
I don't know. I think Scott spoke to you regarding.
Yeah, we have our distribution superintendent who has been working with you in terms of identifying the lines, and I guess ultimately here, what happens is when there's property transfers typically, and if it's done by the
Well, this
law.
was quick claim, because if you
Well,
got an
the-
auction, it was quick claim, right?
But even when the city releases them, they normally assign the easements with utilities that go along with that.
If they had that language.
So that may have missed it, so at this point,
It
Mike
was-
has a way to maybe talk about the need for the line and maybe a potential way to accommodate.
Okay, well, I know.
I don't know the details,
Here.
Mike has those, and he just wanted to know, is the board willing to hear the details to try to accommodate?
I just think, well, what we need to know here, and this will, we'll rely on distribution here, is this loop in our system? Is this
Michael,
a distribution line?
you're on.
All right,
This is a distribution line that ties William Gator into Norfolk, so there's, redundancy.
yeah, get rid of that.
So we definitely will need this line to maintain connection to William Gator. Can we relocate the hydrant to accommodate them in their project? Sure. As far as relocating the water main, I don't know anything about that. That's
Okay,
something that
no,
the board would
those
have
are major costs, that's gonna be major costs. Okay, so, we have to look at the plan, I see you got a survey here. You got a set of plans,
Survey.
have you shared that with our distribution folks?
I'm sure it was sent over with,
I haven't seen
emailed
anything
over on.
yet.
okay, see,
Okay, so-
I'm not getting metal.
Right, I don't know.
I'm a property owner and I'm.
Yeah, I think Mike has, you have received.
Yeah, Mike,
We received,
Yeah.
yes, we received an email Monday, we do have the site plan, nothing has gone forward to our engineering department as far as, water end of things.
Okay, so you got an architect on this one already.
All right,
Yeah, it's not-
everything's, it's a matter, it's been several months trying to,
Right, we have.
And I understand too, because it's a new project and with the state and everything else, it's all been approved in the state and stuff, but local counties and everything else is not up to date on cannabis plants and all that stuff that's going on, so it's something
I will
new.
tell you this, it wouldn't necessarily matter if it was a cannabis plant or any other building.
It could be a warehouse.
Right,
It's a
over
store.
top of our-
Right, exactly, yeah.
And so we got these plans, right? That's,
Yes.
we got to proceed. Okay, so what we're gonna have to do on the distribution side is really take a look at it and say, okay, the usefulness for this is part of our system, and what is going to be the cost to your project if we want to relocate, or if we can even relocate that, because we may not have any.
There's a second question, and Mike might as well deal with it now. Mike, when I talked to, wasn't there another option? It's either relocating the lines or allow them to build as a spread footer on top of the lines, Mike? And then there would have to be basically an announcement of liability, in my opinion. So again, that's why we have an attorney right here for the board. Let's get it out now. I want to take a chance based on my experience. These are the issues.
Now, let's back it over real quick, and that's a hold up the water board here. We have not actually physically gone out, seen any staking. Is our pipe gonna be a foot outside the building? Is it under the building? Is
Gotcha.
like, maybe we only have to reroute 20 foot of pipe. We don't know.
Right.
So we're
Right.
looking at a picture of an overlay of a picture.
Right.
Don't really know what it looks like until somebody gets out there and actually surveys everything.
Right.
I did stop out there the other day. It looks like it's going through the middle, but I don't know where your building's going.
Yeah.
I-
Well, yeah, well, it's 5 feet off the hydrant.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
So,
I have to
yeah.
go out there, and if somebody could stake the four corners of the building, we can kind of identify where our main is, and then we come up with a plan to bring back to the board and
Yeah.
see what has to happen.
Yeah, because
that makes sense.
that makes complete sense. I mean,
This just came up 2 days ago, so we'll let's ask the question right here, why not? Because it's more than just how to solve it, it's, do we have everyone's buy-in, and is there any legal, it sounds like there's a potential flat path here.
Well, I have a question. How quick is the turnaround, the decision-making process? How long will it take for this to be? Because the tenant is like,
I know they're cutting it.
yeah, they
We
want
gotta
it
build, we gotta
moving.
build, otherwise we're
Exactly.
gonna lose.
So I'd like to know what the turnaround time is to make a decision first and foremost. And secondarily, who's going to be responsible for, once the stakes are down, who's going to be responsible for the actual surveying? Is it going to be the water department that needs to do this?
We will locate our own facilities,
Okay.
right? And so we'll do that aspect of it. But everything else, before and after, that will all be.
Yeah, it has to be done as part of the project either way.
I understand that. I'm just talking about the preliminary things that need to be done before a decision is actually made.
Yeah.
I just need to have.
Yeah,
But yeah, because that's what we're waiting for, is the plumbers to get their permits and so forth, and it's like, we can't move. Well, he
Well,
can't move forward.
we won't give you.
Yeah.
Right now, we're
So,
stuck in
Mike,
that
we
little.
can get the line marked out right now, and then you can at least let your architect, here's the line.
Right.
Because I look at them and say, you're designing this building, are we close or not?
Yeah.
How close are we?
Because even,
Before you can do a stakeout, he should know, because then, I mean, maybe he's kind of behind the 8 ball right now.
And I don't know how.
well, see, the board would, I don't mean to cut you off, but, I even suggested to the tenant, because where the building's going, if it's necessary, because I'm kind of helping him get through this, because I know that it's a lot of bureaucracy and everything else, and I didn't want to pay him rent. Because he could be paying a lot of money and not get nowhere. So I've been trying to help him through this, so, but I'm willing to actually let him, if he can, move the building forward, so there's no lines affected. And then we still got to figure out where the line is going. But,
We're gonna figure out what the line is, right? And then if you can relocate the building, that's definitely a plus, because we're not ones for putting it underneath the building.
right,
Especially.
I agree, I definitely understand that.
And then we have to talk about, easements and everything else like that on the property, just to make sure that we're covered out throughout.
Right.
Versus
So
making sure
first
it's on the
is-
foundation.
Right,
First thing
yeah,
is,
yeah.
where is the actual distribution line? Because if it does tie in and feed Gator, which is a place in that rail corridor and that the city owns, with 100 feet wide, 25, 30 years ago.
It's a degree of relocation required depending on the final, where everything lays out, really, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe just to get a
Right,
rental property, you'd have to give us some type of access. It's something that has to be looked at from our engineering department as well. And so, next step is.
But Mike, did you have some ideas already on?
Well,
There's
there's another hardship because you're kind of boxed in. We would have to cross another person's property to tie into William Gator to jump out of your property.
That
So,
would be Northumberland,
Norfolk.
Norfolk, okay.
Yeah, so that Dave Boswell, or Maslow,
yeah.
that triangle.
Right.
So we'd have to cross that triangle to go to William Gator, so we'd have to cross his property
That's it, easy.
Oh,
to get
yeah,
off
yeah,
of
yeah.
your property. So
Right.
I guess staying on your property is probably inevitable, we have to be there, but how we could assist in having you build your property is what we have to look
Yeah,
at.
it's all in due.
Right.
So,
All right.
maybe placing that building in one area after we identify where our meeting is, and after you see your survey and stakes.
So step one,
maybe we
we can
don't
get out there.
have to move anything. Maybe
Right.
it'll just work.
Right.
All right, so step one though is locating our distribution line, as well as the hydrants and any other furnaces that we may have over there. And then every next step, we'll probably toss it back to you for your architect. It may be in a great spot, it may be in a horrible spot,
Right.
all right?
I need to know either way.
So, right, so
Yeah.
we can get that done within a week? Okay. All right, so we'll get that first part done within a week. And then Mike's gonna deal directly with.
Okay. Yeah, as far as getting on the property and so forth. When do you want to come out and look at it?
We'll probably be on Thursday.
Okay,
Thursday? Okay, because I gotta clear the area for it.
Okay.
But you want to see the 4 stakes?
Oh, you already have the corners of the building?
Well, I pretty much, yeah, I mean, I pretty much can tell you exactly where it's gonna go within a foot.
Right. Well, then for us, then we just need to know where to head our online.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get that properly staked out, we'll be able to go visual.
I'm on.
Okay, great.
Okay, so.
All right.
That'll work.
Again,
You know, it's not worse than
enjoy the weather.
but, you know, we'll-
I still got a lot of minutes before.
I told this guy that we need to start a year ahead of time.
Yeah.
This is something that you can't do in 2 seconds.
But that's what we'll go. You'll expect to look at the deed and then you see you got utilities.
Yeah, I'll see, and when I got it, I was just thinking about trucks on top.
Yeah, yeah.
You can move those today, no problem.
Right, no permanent structure.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we will now move on to item 4, staffing update. Doug?
Sure, Doug Schultz, Veolia. The headcount that's actually listed on the board report is still the April headcount. We've been working with DPW admin to get an update, but due to schedule conflicts and vacations and whatnot, we're still working with the team in May. But it's safe to say that it's largely remains the same. We still have critical vacancies in operations for both Mass Work, water treatment plant, and VW. So we are still working with DPW, working with GHD to come to resolution on those items. We were at, filled positions were at 80, actual staff capacity was 58. So target staffing is 127, if I believe.
Right.
We're at 80 filled.
Isn't that pretty low?
Very low. That's where we're going. I know we've added some since April, but we still keep getting retirements as well. And so the critical piece really for us is operational. Okay. All right, anything else on the staffing, guys? All right, we'll move on to item number 5, judgment and claims. Mr. Merlo?
Yes, thank you. Peter Merlo, Secretary for the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. I thought I was going to have a judgment and basically a claim as recommended by law. We had one of our employees, we had a malfunction at the Mass Ave gate, damaged his car. He received a quote. I'm working with Rob Quinn. It should be easy peasy. However, I don't have that recommendation from law, so I will have that at the next meeting. So at this point, there's no items to writing by.
All right, thank you. Item number 6, water budget.
Do we need to table item 5 or not?
No, it's just judgment and claims, that's all. All right, who's gonna handle budget? Is that Bill?
Yes.
All right.
Good morning. Actually, Lisa's on the phone too. I'll go over the budget and Lisa will chime in as well. But pretty much if starting on page 1 that's on the screen, the significant differences from last year's budget, starting from the top, the LIWAP is over, so that's why it's budgeted at 0. The HAF, we're looking at 150 because that's is running out too. The I'll turn it over to Lisa to talk about the rates. I know we've been going back and forth on that, but I think her memory is a little bit better than mine regarding that.
Sure. So we are working on a plan that will increase the rates for next year, as well as restructure some of the groups. We were successful. When I say we, I mean the water folks, the comptroller's office, and the administration worked well together to allow us to have the ARPA monies restored. They weren't all restored. At the end of the day, we were still about $9 million short, but 21 million of the previously awarded 30 million was restored. So it did leave a bit of a shortfall, and that's why we are looking at a rate increase and a bit of a restructuring. We considered all of the available options to try to mitigate the impact to the ratepayers, and of course we considered equity in the analysis. So the plan will be to present a formal rate analysis to the board at the next meeting, and that will be with sufficient time to schedule a public hearing sometime in August, and then any rate increase would be voted on and effective in September for rates beginning in October. So stay tuned for that, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, then after that, the rest of the revenues, they're pretty much in line with historical, except for the transfer towards the bottom, the transfer from ARPA Fund 2135. As we all know, that's we took what we're getting from the city that was recognized in fiscal 24. So that is why that amount is zero for fiscal 2025. If you scroll down to the, okay, we're on the next page already. Okay. Utilities we budgeted based on our projected, what we looked at the projection for historical fiscal 24. The other ones too, the Veolia ones are based on the contract. Then for the structural improvements, the excess limit, that is being budgeted at $6 million. That was done in consultation with the budgets that Peter prepared, and we're hoping that should be sufficient for the year. And other than that, we're looking at, there's some non-cash items for the pension expense, et cetera. That's just all accounting entries we make at year end. And then we have the bond interest. We're looking at a debt bond issuance late or the second half of fiscal 25. So there shouldn't be too much there'll be some interest impact in fiscal 25, but not much. Depreciation is a non-cash entry. The transfer to the general fund is up to $9.3 million. That's the 5% increase that's been taken every year. $15 million, the transfer from Enterprise Water. Just keep in mind that is assuming all positions are fully filled, which we know is not going to be the case. So there's always some savings in the our personnel costs. The second last line for the 2.6 million, the 1.15 for the transfer from the authority. That is just, we need to have a 1.15 debt service coverage. So it's more of a bookkeeping entry, but it's not a real expense. And lastly, we have $550,000 as a transfer out to the Water Finance Authority. And that is also in the anticipation of the bond issuance later this year. Any questions?
So if I can just chime in, Bill, in order to meet the rate covenants and again to mitigate the impact to the ratepayers, we are moving the timing of that bond issuance to not only very late in the year, but very late in the year, so that the actual debt service payments will probably here. We're doing that in order to obviously mitigate the impact to the ratepayers, but also to enable us to continue the improvements to the system on schedule and as planned. So a win at the end of the day, but just wanted to let you know the budget is conservative and that it reflects that additional debt service, but more likely than not, it'll be pushed into a subsequent fiscal year for cash reporting purposes and covenant analysis.
Thank you. Are you recommending now that we, the board approve this budget
Yeah.
for the
Yes.
fiscal year 2025?
Yes, and it's, once they get board approval, we can get that filed with Paris, with the state budget
All right.
office.
Thank you.
By the way, the Water Finance Authority beat you. Approval.
Only this year.
First time ever.
So board, is there a motion to approve our projected budget for the fiscal year 24-25?
Sunderland, second.
The motion properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Nosworthy, aye. Unanimous. Thank you. We'll now
Thank you.
move on to. What was that?
Said thank you.
Oh, thank you. We'll now move on to item number 7, which we have a couple of budget minutes here.
Yeah, it's actually Peter Merlo, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineer, Division of Water. This was an adjustment in the issuance of that time between the different asset categories for the plan that I came up and worked really with Lisa and Bill to kind of led the charge on this. And this was really just to help move money around to help the board, again, meet those obligations and again, put up and minimize that rate increase. So I'll turn it over to Bill and Lisa from here.
Yes, that was the amount, just with the, as you all know, that we're expecting $20 million to come in with the federal ARPA money. The city reallocated that even after the water board encumbered and spent some of the money. So we got, I think, was 13 million in from the city, and the remainder is, was being allocated out of the water board and into the last bond issuance that we did.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution for the budget amendment?
Sunderland, second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Nosworthy, aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 8. Mr. Merlo.
Thank you. Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. On the screen and in front of you is a proposal from Arcadis for a change order to the residual improvement project. They are currently managing the construction project and the implementation of our lagoon, as well as the residual pump stations. The thickeners are what actually treat the backwash water and remove those solids. Those thickeners need to be rehabilitated. We believe we may be able to do it under the existing contract. We'd like to do a change order here for Arcadis, who's already consulting that project. This is really just another phase of this. They would put together plans and specs just for a rehab and some construction oversight. And it's really going to be changing out tube settlers, which are basically like A-crates in there that enhance the settling. It dramatically increases the settling ability of surface area in a nutshell. Also, we're looking at doing some safety improvements for the railings and some other internal improvements in the basin itself. I think those were the majority of the improvements we're looking at doing over there.
Yeah, I believe it was constructed, the post-Veolia operations, I believe the thickener was constructed in 1999. The tube settlers have lately exceeded their industry demonstrated life. We are seeing degradation of tube settlers in the lagoon and some of the sludge that we're processing, so they do warrant replacement.
And it just, the Arcadis is the consultant on the residuals project, already selected, as well as they were the consultant under Malcolm Purney that did the original design on the thickener. So it makes a lot of sense to get them on board here. So again, all of these costs from this point to item number 17 will stay are in budget. The plan that we put together with Bill and Lisa included these expenditures. So this is money that we did not move. So everything is under budget. I won't repeat that, but I think that's a big deal because these are things that we make sure, and Lisa and Bill, that we're able to accommodate, but still obviously keep the program going. That's the goal here. So Thank you. Again, asking for, if there's any questions, please do. If not, Chairman, a motion to approve the change order for not to exceed 140,000.
Quick question for you. We have a distinct, we know exactly we're not anticipating any issues. And I say that because this is at the lump sum and not an hourly.
Oh, no, listen, we'll do it I will make sure it is per diem.
Okay.
So I will change that. I apologize, I didn't catch that. I'm still gonna have the 140, but it's gonna be a not to exceed instead of a.
Thank you.
So I will just say, approved as revised.
Okay, so, is there a motion to? approve?
My apologies for not catching that.
That's all right.
They're all per diem, they all will be.
Okay. There a motion to approve the change order to Arcadis in the amount of $140,000 for a not to exceed.
Sunderland, so moved.
Denise, second.
The motion is properly second. I hear no further questions. All in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Denise,
Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous. All right, we'll move on to item number 9, Ms. Merlo.
Yes, we are working with UV. They are actually providing the theoretical knowledge and actually running our pipe loops. These are the pipe loop looking at our service line and looking for the effects of any changes that we deem. They work on the fluoride piece of it. Now they're working on different orthophosphates, different chemicals that we could add to potentially improve our passivization of our pipes and further reduce our lead numbers, which are excellent and very minimal. So the question is, can we get better without causing a problem? So having people and working with UV, we have a 3-year contract that expired. There's still plenty of money in there to fund it for another year. We have a plan in place working with UV. Steve and I met with Alan and Nick. We're ready to go. We just need a contract extension date to 12/31/25, and then I will make UV administrators very happy once I show them that the board approved that. They're getting nervous with contract extension. They told them not to worry. We're good.
They got students bringing it in. All right.
They commit to doing it, exactly.
I'll say they've actually dedicated a doctoral student to this.
Wow.
So he'll be here.
We asked about that.
Yeah, yeah. And he's here for another 3 or 4 years.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
all right, so good, dedicated person, perfect. So is there a motion to approve this no cost time extension with SUNY RF University of
Denise,
Sunderland, second.
The motion properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Denise,
Sunderland, aye. Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous. Right, we'll now move on to window structure retainer account.
Yes, thank you. Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. What in front of you is a change order request for the structural retainer account to Windows for $150,000. Previously, board had come to you with maybe $50,000 increases in their structural retainer. Windows serves a very important role for this facility. They are the structural engineer of record, the PE that comes, and myself and Doug, and we only work with to assess conditions at this facility. As you can see, there's a lot of brick and mortar. There are conditions sometimes that aren't a big deal, some are dangerous. I'm not an expert in that. I'm not a structural. That's what Windows is here for. They're working with us on a variety of projects. You can see what's going on here. They're also designing our roof projects, so they're involved in both the capital as well as the local, really those limit accounts that we're using are really being spent per their direction for things that are needed and necessary, not just willy-nilly. So last time you wanted to come to me back with a little bit more substance, so I'm asking for $150,000 increase, give us a little room, plus continue on these efforts that you can see up there. Again, everything we're doing is very visual. They are overseeing all the work that Artie Kelly's doing, and I'll be honest, board, it's been a great combination to allow us to properly implement the capital program. And again, we got a $15 million roof project coming next year, so
yeah,
this has been working very well. So that's all, the $150,000 to the existing retainer agreement. And again, already budgeted.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Yes, sir.
All right, board, is there a motion to approve change for not to exceed $150,000 for a structural retainer contract with Windows?
Sunderland, so moved.
Denise, second.
The motion is properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Denise,
Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous. All right, we'll move on. Hazen, engineering consultant project, electrical.
Again, Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. In front of you is an increased request for $60,000 the Hazen contract, they're overseeing really two projects, or really one project in two phases. They're overseeing the Florida implementation currently, and they're overseeing the Clearwell improvement projects to really optimize the flow in our Clearwell to maximize its time, maximize CT content. So we're looking for an increase for $60,000 to further kind of help with the SCADA integration that we kind of missed moving forward on the fluoride, plus some other electrical integration to the facility. So again, it's an increase of $60,000 as a not to exceed for these services.
All right, board, is there a motion to approve this change order for Hazen in the amount of $60,000?
Denise, so moved.
Kelly, second. One question, Peter.
Yes, sir.
Is the last change order for this?
I hope so. At the end of the day, this is a very large project. When we go to construction phase, most likely there'll be another change for construction phase services. Again, something like this, as large of a project, this is all tied together. There's a lot of money involved here, but it's all very defendable in terms of why it's with Hazen. They're doing an excellent job on this, and it's a big project in terms of that Clearwell and what they're doing over there.
Well,
So I can't say for sure. If I can at some point say, hey, for construction phase services, we can enter into a separate agreement if you would so choose. That's fine, but it's still going to be Hazen unless they really screw up. That's going to be running that phase. So how you would like me to administer it is fine.
I think what you're saying is we're on 5. We're on CO number 5. And that's a concern.
is the fluoride still on track for August?
And a lot of those change orders were because of the action we had to take with fluoride specifically, so it's probably 2 or 3 of them just to do everything we can to move that forward. Again, I probably did things I would never have done both on the engineering and on the contractor side. We're using limited accounts to do that as well.
Well, I mean, that's the whole fast track part, yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's why I committed to do whatever I can and as quickly as I can. So yeah, it did result in a couple extra change orders, but thank you for working with us through this.
Nice.
So August is still a hard date.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, any further questions?
Thank you, Board.
The motion and properly seconded, all in favor?
Denise, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Nosworthy, aye.
Sunderland, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much, board. We'll now move on to the next item. Nussbaumer and Clark.
There's 2. The first one is NASDAQ upgrades, which is in a time extension. So is that the right one that we have up there? No, that's the next one.
Okay, I got Facade.
I can do that first, but I have it.
Yeah, do it first. Do it as much.
Okay, NASDAQ, this is really NASDAQ upgrades phase 1. Oh, no, I'm sorry, this is for, okay, yeah.
The Facade.
Oh, no, that is the right one. Sorry. I get confused. If you remember, board, we approved a change order from Nussbaumer contract to basically, as part of the investigation phase, hire a contractor to remove the panels at the NASDAQ so they can investigate the steel and investigate the condition underneath there, and then put a temporary facade back up until the capital project comes back where the facade will be done permanently. So we're using the funds for investigative purposes, and that's why they're allowed in that contract. When they came through, there was some additional work that needed to be done. At the time, I didn't stop it because we needed to get that enclosure up for winter time. If you drive by the closure, it's excellent. It's one of the best temporary closures. So they did exactly what we wanted to. They bought us time to get to the project. The good news is there really wasn't anything that required immediate attention with the structural steel. So everything can be incorporated in that large project. We have the stone stored on site, the sign stored on site. We'll be putting those back up with the project. So again, this is for additional money. Most of it is for Ari Kelly for some of the work that had to go behind it to stabilize some of the brick and mortar, the speed type stuff. So this is an increase of just under 50,000, 49,360,000. 49,360. That's correct.
We're
Sorry.
about $360. That's all right.
Sorry.
All right, board, is there a motion to approve a change order to the electrical upgrades project for Mass Ave for work being done by Nussbaumer and Clark in the amount of $49,360.
Sunderland, so moved.
Denise, second.
Motion properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Denise, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Nosworthy, aye. Unanimous. All right, now we'll move on to the Mass Ave Pump Electrical Upgrades Project Phase 1. Nussbaum.
Yes. So, if you remember, Board, we approved a change order for not to exceed $113,000 for Connell for additional delivery costs, because this project Phase 1 is really the delivery of transformers with some installation, but mostly delivery project to be actually built and constructed along with a bigger project coming back next year. So there has been some time issues. We wanted to make sure the contractor got that PO and that order in to get in line. We've been working with the contractor because right now the time is still above the contract time. He's been very nervous. We've been working with him to go ahead and Board, you've been excellent. It's been a good faith effort, because if he stops, if he says he can't do it, we're back in line again, and that's not good for anybody. So we both have to work. This is the final piece of that. This just gives him some comfort that he's performing. Hopefully, they'll usually come in most of the time earlier than anticipated, but we want to make sure that he's covered and the lawyers at his company are good with the contract extension. So we're asking for this contract, Mass Ave Phase 1 upgrades with O'Connell Electric, to be extended to 8/31/26.
All right, no cost change?
Yes, you approved the change order already
Okay,
last meeting.
right, for the top.
But that cost isn't really to this one, because that's a material cost. There is no cost in this one because there's really not a construction phase to this, a huge one, and that's already in there. So there was still a cost for it, but it's a little bit different than most.
Okay.
Not to overcomplicate it.
All right, so for this one here, we're looking for a final completion date of August 31st, 2026.
Yes.
And so is there a motion to approve?
Denise Zimmerman.
Sunderland, second.
The motion is properly seconded. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Denise, I.
Sunderland, aye.
Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous. All right, now we'll move on to GHD, Colonel Ward, Public Station Electrical Improvements with Fry.
Yes. We're asking for a contract extension at this point to November 27, 2024. Really just to push that out. The project is going well. I don't believe there's going to be any crosses with CARI, just because we have multiple contracts and work with GHG to kind of oversell that gap. So normally there probably would be a cost, but in this case, we're able to avoid that. So this is really just extended that date to get that work complete. The project, I think, is doing great. I think the contractor's been performing very well.
All right, so this has been recommended by our engineer, our engineer consultant, and you concur.
Yes.
This is no cost extension to November 27th of 2024 for the work being done by Fry. Is there a motion to approve?
Denise Zimmerman.
Sunderland, second.
The motion properly seconded. Any questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Denise, I.
Sunderland, aye.
Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous, thank you. We'll now move on to the next item, which is Watts Architects and Engineers. It's for design, bid, TA, CI, and record.
Yes.
This is for distribution.
Yes, Peter Rollo, Principal Engineer, Secretary to the Board. The next three items, we'll start with this one, is really the beginning of getting our capital program designed for our next set of distribution projects, which is right now talking about $30 million. We had 25 approved in the budget. So this is part of that $65 million capital program I promised to deliver for you, Board, per the approved capital plan. We already have, again, the roof project, Mass Ave. This is the kind of the final piece of distribution to keep the program and kind of handle our current emergencies. So we'll just go down various locations, 1, 2, and 3. There's going to be another 3 coming. We're going to have 6 contracts. We've exhausted our consultant list, which actually makes procurement very easily. We use every firm on there. So just because of the volume of work, and all the firms have had experience, some more than other with less services. It's really the new way of doing business. So the first one is for Watts. It's in the areas described. I mean, I know all the streets off the top of my head, but myself and Fly, who was on or coming back from vacation, put together, as well as Jack, we put together the locations and kind of just try to marry them in the best project location. This one made sense. Watts is working on the 33. They're in the area already. That's where this project is near. Some of these in rock. We got some 4 and 6-inch mains. This is a pretty large scale project. So what we're asking for as all this is only, I asked the consultants in their scope to include CA and RI, so it's identified in there. But we're only asking for cost to fund design and bid. So on this one, we'd be asking to approve an amount for permission to agreement for $329,900, which is a summation of design and bid phase. Then we would look to encumber the construction costs along with the cost for construction once we bid it.
Right.
It's just, why tie up that money now that's not gonna be spent for? It depends, and are these projects funded? I'm gonna work with Lisa, ultimately, we're gonna marry into the amount of money, so up to 6 projects, one may not get funded to be the next one in the line. So it gives you, the board, options to fund this based on funding availability, based on cost
Yeah.
at the time.
I think that's very prudent.
Yes.
Any questions on that, Dennis?
And these are all permissions to enter an agreement and begin the process, go through it.
No change order. Okay, so their permission to enter into professional services agreement with Fox Architects and Engineers. And this is for the initial phase of design and bidding, getting us through the documents in the amount of $329,900.
Sunderland, so moved.
Janine second.
The motion properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Janine, aye.
Kelly, aye. Crosworthy, aye.
Unanimous. All right, move on to the next, number 2.
DiDonato.
DiDonato.
Yeah, they're actually, one of our, the current consultants finishing up a job. 2 of the contacts are going great, working with Flood Services. They have a lot of experience. So we chose this location with a lot of the, because it's near where some of the other sites, again, just we need some rhyme and reason to kind of pick. We had 6 consultants we had to pick and kind of divvy this up, and we feel we really, like I said, the 3 of us makes a lot of sense. So these are the streets. The amount that we're asking to enter an agreement is for $321,277, which is again for design and bid. You can see costs are identified at a later date, but at this point, it'll be encumbered at a later date with construction.
Again, on this one, I do see the lump sum again. How do you feel about that, especially for the total?
You know something, let me go back, and I have no problem not to exceed, and I apologize. A lot of times the designs have been lump sum initially, and the cost increases have been per diem.
Yeah.
Because what I do is I get the consultant hourly breakdown. It's just sometimes the design itself is lump sum in case, if the consultant decides to do work ahead of time and work under, he can't bill for that by time, but he can bill for it by lump sum. So as long as I understand where the lump sum came from, it seems to work. Any increases and anything like construction-based services are always per diem. But I'm comfortable, I've always been with design, but I get the hourly breakdown in case anyone asks how do we get there.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable with that, but board, again, it's ultimately, I'm gonna do what you're comfortable with.
That's right. We'll go back and talk to them about the, not to exceed, but we'll approve the 277. All right.
Thank you.
Board, is there a motion to approve?
I have a question on this.
Sure.
Kenmore Avenue, isn't that half owned by the village of Kenmore?
It is.
Oh, we're responsible?
Matter of fact, the county owns that.
Well, number one, you're talking about for the street itself, and I believe the shared line is down the center of the road. So, however, that doesn't affect our asset. Our asset is 100% ours, and we will only put it on our side of the road.
Actually,
Uh-oh.
we don't share anything. We have a pipe on our side, they have a pipe on their
That's
side.
what I was saying. We
Yeah.
share, for my city engineer days, we share the road.
We share the road, I remember that.
I thought you were saying we share the pipe.
No, I said we don't share anything anymore. It's all our assets.
And actually, this is the last piece of Kenmore from, we replaced Starin all the way to Elmwood over the last 10 years. So this piece here has a high break history, and we're looking to complete Kenmore Avenue from military to.
But Jerry, the city has worked jointly with the village of Kenmore on paving programs to implement that. But again, we don't have that issue with our asset. They have their line, we have ours. Our line will be located on our side in the city.
Okay.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the amount of $321,277 for work being done by DiDonato on our distribution system design?
Janine, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
Motion properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Janine, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Kelly, aye.
Crosworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to water distribution system improvements number 3. Nussbaumer Clark, Mr. Merlo.
Again, this is the third in the packet. There's going to be 3 more coming. Hopefully next meeting, we're just finalizing the scope and kind of making sure we're good to go. These are the streets. These are again for main replacement of those locations and really including service replacements. Again, this is something we worked very closely with Mike on developing these lists in terms of need. And we're looking for an amount for $300,400 for both design and bid pay services. Go down. Yeah, this is, I love Gary.
He breaks it down.
His longest proposal, it all says the same thing, but it's a little more detailed.
So, again, with this one as well, go back to Gary, talk a little about the not to exceed versus the.
Yeah, in fact, why don't I just make that, let's just make that at all not to exceed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we are looking for approval for this distribution design work for the phases 1 through 3, 7, and 8 in the amount of $300,400. Is there a motion to approve?
Janine, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
The motion is properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Janine, aye.
Sunderland, aye.
Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, we'll now move on to the next item, which is GHD, which is professional services agreement proposal for our next fiscal year. Mr. Merlo.
Again, Peter Merlo, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. This is for the annual retainer called the Observation Oversight Contract with GHD. The services, you can see the list there from just being the retained engineer, oversight of the contract, what we have with the implementation of a variety of policies that the board and OJUS spearhead going on.
Equity Task Force for our role program. We know we got a lot of stuff going on there. It just goes on. I don't know if it's as detailed as scary, so I'm sure Steve you do.
Well, no, there's a way to detail. I'm a fan of bullet lists. Here we go.
There we go.
Oh,
all right.
But, and I think what he's trying to do in this one, typically the retainers were all 400,000. This one, they're asking for 600, but I think reflects some of this additional work that you're doing. And I don't think anybody argues the validity of it.
The only comment I'll say is we're anticipating about $250,000 of subcontracted costs in the next year for the Community Care Coalition and also the public relations subconsultant that we're using. And so it is a big number relative to past initial numbers, but that will allow me to get them locked up and contracted for, the duration. It's likely that, we'll come back again in the spring to review the budget, and if we've exhausted it, we would ask for an amendment at that time. But this will get you through much of the year and cover those subcontracted costs. I'll give a brief update on that later on.
Okay. Any questions on this one before? All right. Is there a motion to approve professional engineering services proposal from GHD in the amount of $600,000 for the next fiscal year?
Janine, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
The motion properly seconded. Hearing no further questions. All in favor?
Janine, aye.
Sunderland, aye.
Kelly, aye. Osborne, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. The next one will be our famed attorney, Barclay Davis LLP. It is a retention agreement. Mr. Merlo.
Yes, Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. We typically, this is a typical agreement we enter in for the services that Charlie does, which, how can we state that in a meeting here? I mean,
He's priceless.
Thanks the rates,
so we have this budgeted in.
Leave the room.
So in this one, I'm not sure we need a board action, but it doesn't hurt to have it because this is paid on an individual PO basis, whereas the retainer agreement with GHD is done through an actual contract, which needs an official approval before we can enter into that agreement. There's not actually a signed agreement that we ever enter in with you, but we pay those on a PO basis every month. So as long as it's accurately budgeted, we're fine. Now, I don't know what the budget amount is going to be because it may be, I think this at 150, but I think we want to increase it because we have fluoride litigation. So the question is, what ultimately do we want that to be the target?
Okay.
the document refers to not to exceed whatever the board budget would be. So again, not knowing what that is, we can ultimately determine that, I think, as time goes by. I appreciate your comments, Peter. I need the agreement for legal purposes, if you will. Our law firm is supposed to have a retainer agreement in effect with the entity that we represent.
Gotcha. So board action, this
Board action, yeah, and right now we have budgeted 200,000 that we're projecting.
Yep.
And so that'll be the proposed board action. That's
Perfect.
I'm in the budget. And so, from my understanding, we don't have any other meaningful. Yeah, that's what, so we're budgeted 200. So, board, is there approval for a retention agreement with Art Damon in the amount of $200,000 for the next fiscal year?
Kelly, so moved.
All right, all right. Is there a second? Is there a second? Denise second. All right. No further questions on this. All in favor? All right, thank you very much. Unanimous. Okay, we will now move on to monthly reports from GHD. Mr. Walpole.
Thank you, Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. There are quite a lot of activities going on. I'll give a brief rundown of some things that maybe I'm most familiar with, and then over to Ryan and Dustin. Ryan prepared an application on your behalf for lead service line replacements in the next fiscal year. The total application was around $16.5 million for lead service lines. They were paired, if I understand correctly, they were paired with the lines that Peter has just gotten approval to contract for the design with. So if New York State grants you this money, you would have to account for those monies separately, but yet they would overlay on those same projects. So that's the hope here. We worked very closely with Peter and Fuad. Ryan did the brunt of it. And we also we changed your application to state that these improvements will benefit everybody in Buffalo. Okay. The reason is that New York State, unfortunately, has scored the bill funding applications for lead service line replacement under their scoring framework, which is 30 years old. It looks at public health, and every single project across New York State got 40 points. So you were on the same level as even the smallest village in New York State, and you did not receive funding last cycle because of that. The tiebreaker was population, okay, which I don't think New York State really looked at or examined. They just took the population that the community included. Now that the lead service line, lead and copper rule improvements are heading towards a mandate where the city will have to replace every single lead service line over a period of years, we are making the case that these replacements benefit all of your ratepayers. And so we put in the 270,000. So you should be at the very top of the list.
What percentage will this give us of total replacement of lead service?
We are, I think it's based on 900 replacements. So, using a rough estimate of 40,000, not very much.
Estimate of 40,000
lead service lines in the city. So that's number one. Number two, so we have completed the RFQ process for the Community Care Coalition. The committee met and they selected two preferred providers. We have a kickoff meeting tomorrow with Open Buffalo and the Community Health Center of Buffalo. Those are the two initial providers. They will run through a 6-month period where we'll be knocking on doors in certain neighborhoods, gathering data, signing people up for the tap sampling compliance program, and some other things. So we're excited about that. These are two well-trusted, well-respected agencies in the city that serve a large population. Portia Your public relations consultant has given me a summary of activities for last year. There was a considerable amount that was done for the year last year. I won't go through it, but she details the highlights of all the things that have happened, and she is building a plan for this next year, which we'll be able to share with you all in the coming weeks. In addition, a couple other highlights. Worked very closely with Lisa and Ryan and Bill on the rate evaluation. A pretty, I think, unique plan will be presented to you next month. Under OJ's guidance, we've been able to achieve the increased revenues while I would say designing what I might call as income-sensitive rates, meaning we're keeping the impact to the typical homeowner below an affordability threshold that EPA has kind of been working towards. So rates, the total annual cost should never exceed 2% of the MHI. And then for your lowest income residents as well, we're keeping the increase, the impact to them, total annual cost to less than 2% of their income as well, within the current rate structure that you have. So I think it's the first time I've seen that done by a big city. And that leads me to the next point. OJ and I and Ryan co-authored a paper for the Water Environment Technology, Water Environment Federation periodical about your communication strategy and affordability strategy. And that will be published nationally. And it features in part these rate kind of structures, as well as some of the work that Portia's been doing. So you'll be getting some press nationally on that.
Is that done?
The draft is into the editors of the magazine. PFAS, I think Ryan submitted, helped package that up and submitted that. I won't comment anymore on that. We've also been working closely with Charlie and Peter on the MOU. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll stop there because there's a bunch of stuff. Ryan, any more highlights that you want to hit?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. So as Stephen mentioned, last week we submitted a lead service line replacement grant to be coupled with the upcoming capital distribution project, water main replacements. So if accepted, that project will be added to the intended use plan for next fiscal year. And also have to thank Mike as well as for his assistance in the planning. And the application is to replace about 1,300 known lead service lines. We aren't able to use the unknown service lines for that one. So within those areas, we do have about 1,300 known lead service lines for replacement. Recently met with Veolia to discuss the potential rate adjustments and current billing system updates while the CIS vendor Harris was on site. The billing system's in a good state and we'll be able to handle the potential changes upcoming later this year. And we continue to meet regularly with Veolia Engineering and 120 Water to continue to advance the lead program. And the program's running well, and I think that the collaboration is a big reason for that. We communicate openly and work hard to be prepared for and stay ahead of the regulations. I'll stop there and pass it over to Dustin. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Good morning, board. Hopefully some of you I know have seen the changes around the plant, especially with the addition of our berm wall and the other activities associated with that, the fence as well. I've been working very closely with the Centennial Parks project and coordinating work efforts on both sides so that your assets are continued to be protected as we want them to be. And continuing obviously to work very closely daily with Mr. Foltz and Mr. Carson on activities here at the plant. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys very much. We truly appreciate all the work that you're doing with us. We will now move on to monthly report from Veolia. Doug.
Good morning, board. Doug Foltz, Veolia Operations. I'll touch on a few things and then I'll pitch over to David Sykes to discuss financials. On May 6th, we had an opportunity to host Olmsted High School. We took them on a tour. We actually discussed climate change, and that was largely facilitated through Kelly St. John with City of Buffalo. And we had a grad student from City of Buffalo actually do a presentation on sustainability. So that was an excellent event that day.
They really had a good time.
They did.
Check out that picture of you. Look at you.
Because you did more documents. You want to see Peter in his own.
I know, that was it.
We did complete leak detection services for section 4 of the city. That consisted of about 185 miles of pipe. Our crews detected 60 leaks total. 45 of them were on services, 15 were on mains, valves, and hydrant mounts.
Right. How do they do that?
Acoustic detection largely. So it's really two. Well, only when all else fails, we busted the screen. But it's a crew of 2 people. They do a cursory review of the whole area, they do sounding, and then whatever they find, they document, and then they come back and they try to refine that, and they dial in what the leak is. I think Mike's been pretty happy with it. They seem to find some pretty sneaky leaks.
Isn't that a lot?
It's actually typical for what we're seeing in the system. So we will be doing section 5, which will be an entire sweep of the entire service territory that's ever been done. That will happen in July of this year. And then the hope is when we go back and do section 1 again next year, we're going to see a dramatic decrease.
So you literally take that detector and you follow the mean?
It's acoustics. Mike, you could probably speak to it a little bit better based on what we do.
So they have a sounding device that they go from hydrant to hydrant. And based on the amount of sound that comes off that hydrant will determine whether they believe there's a leak or not. Then they'll narrow down their search and determine whether it's a factory drawing a lot of water or whether it is indeed a leak. And they have been out of, usually every section that they come to per year, they usually find anywhere from 60 to 80 leaks.
Yep.
And they have been 99% effective. We dig right where they say and we find a leak. We have a couple misses, but on the grand scheme of things, it's very minor. It's very impressive. I mean, they nail it.
Wow. They run big here.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's one of the things, again, coming back base and just talking about, leak detection and water loss, which is always a big thing. I think people see it differently. Different
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I'm really excited to see, not this year is going to be good, but next year, in contract year 6, whatever it is, when we do the sweep of the first area number 1 again, I'm curious to see what the numbers come in at. One more thing, and I'll pitch it to Damon. Our service contracts are coming up for renewal. So right now, we actually did bid for masonry, mechanical, and emergency main breaks. So we have bids in. We have a new bidder list for all of those. We are working through electrical and SCADA right now. We're working with VLA terms just to make sure from the data protection side that we're tight on everything and our contractors can do everything. So the hope is to get bids in for SCADA and electrical by the end of this month. We will be bidding spoils and I think a few other contracts probably after the first of the year. Just timing wise, that's just how it's going to work out. But we are renewing contracts and we'll present those costs to the board. Okay, thank you. Damon, if you're there.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, I am. Can you hear me okay, Doug?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. Chairman, this is Damon Sykes from Buffalo, or from Veolia, to go over the financials for the 11 months. On page 7, you'll see that we had a good month in the month of May. We brought in $5.1 million. But most importantly, where do we stand now at 11 months? We're at $45.7 million. And our goal, as Bill pointed out, for this fiscal year is $49.4 million. So we're about $3.8 million away from our goal. So it looks like we're going to be very close of reaching our goal here in the month of June for the 12-month fiscal year. So there are 3 points I really want to make, and I'll keep it brief, of why I feel like we're going to get towards our goal this year. Number one, we had that rate increase on October 1st of 2023. It doesn't really become effective when you get all the rates into our system until about January 1st. So it's really, you've only had the benefit of about a half a year of rate increase to build that base of that additional revenue. So that still has to work through a system for the course of a whole year yet, and you've only had the benefit of about 6 months. So that's point number one. Point number two, Bill Ferguson mentioned on page 1, when you look at the LIWAP and the BHAF money that we received just for this fiscal year, just for Buffalo Water, we exclude out the sewer authority, it's $2.3 million that we've received on that portion of it. So when you look at the 45.7, 2.3 of that was from those 2 state agencies, those 2 state programs. So unfortunately, the LIWAP has already ended. The BHAF is coming to a close. All we're doing right now is processing existing applications. We haven't accepted any applications since April 30th, but we're still processing. We still have received money in the month of June. So I expect some revenue there, but probably by July 1st, that might be it. And you guys are all well aware of that. And the third point is our product demand is up. If you look on page 14, if you look at the graphs down there, you would see that since February of this year, our consumption has gone up. It's trending up in a great level. So so you can't count on that, but those are really the 3 factors that I'm seeing here: rate increase, the LIWAP, and the product going up through our pipelines that would contribute to our decent revenue numbers at this point. So any questions, I can take them, but if not, that's my financial summary, Chairman. Thank you.
Hey, Damon, Bill Sunderland. Where are you seeing the consumption increase? Is it residential, commercial?
It looks like on the commercial side, looks like the sewer authority has taken a lot of water from us the latter half of this year. I'll be giving a higher profile of that at the annual meeting where I profile all our top 30 users. We should be able to see it there as well.
Or maybe not. All right, thank you, David.
You bet. Thank you.
No, I'm all set. All right, guys, thank you very much. Last item, we will go into is executive session to discuss litigation matters. As this is an open meeting, what we'll likely do is when we come out of here, won't be any decisions made, but we'll just end the meeting after that. So we do appreciate everybody who's been online with us. We don't need you to hang on anymore just to have us in the meeting. So I want to thank everybody for participating today, even though we went a little long. Really thank you guys and appreciate all the work that you have. Thank you.
Annual meeting, we got the date set, is not changed, it's still July 17th.
Yeah. 17. Yeah, so good.
Is that going to be at 9 or 10?
Well, yeah, we're in.
Back to 9 a.m., right?
Wait, I don't have it. No, hold on, wait a second. I have the 10th. Right, I was gonna say, I have a different date. I have the 10th at 9 a.m. You're throwing us off, Jackson.
I don't even have that one.
That's why I'm checking.
Yeah, that's the normal meeting, the 10th is the second one.
We're gonna do that as our annual too, so.
I agree with her.
All right, the 10th.
Brian, can you resend those? Because I don't have either one of them.
Yeah, Bill, I'll take care of you. I'll make sure that I'll resend the rest of the year for you, Bill, too, so you can accept them all.
July 10th at 9 a.m., right?
Yes, July 10th, 9 a.m.
And then, can somebody send me the information of the contacts of the people who were in attendance today so I can put it in the minutes, please?
Will do.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm out.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, is there a motion to move into executive session?
Sunderland, so moved.
Me second.
The motion, probably second, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Janine, aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Executive session.